We're going to discuss this with Rami Khouri, a distinguished public policy fellow at the American University of Beirut, and he's speaking to us from Boston in the US. Rami, always good to have you on the channel. Now, Israel's defense minister has described these strikes on Yemen as a warning, and Israel will, quote, show what it can do. Benjamin Netanyahu has said the Houthis will pay a heavy price for the ongoing strikes. What could that price look like going forward?
Well, we've seen what Israel can do and has done and is still doing all over the Levant, the West Asia and Lebanon, West Bank, Gaza, Syria. They've even attacked Iran, Iraq. They have a lot of capabilities. They have pretty good intelligence. But those assets do not pertain in Yemen. Israel cannot as easily attack and damage and degrade Yemen in the same way that it has against Hezbollah and Hamas and other targets. And this is for geographical reasons, logistical reasons, all kinds of technical reasons that the Yemenis, the Ansarullah, the Houthis, have been able to develop very sophisticated systems to manufacture, launch, guide, and protect their long-range drones and missiles. And therefore, the Israelis have a limited amount of damage that they can do, which is what they're doing now, to hit targets that are exposed above ground, airports, ports, power stations, roads, bridges. And they'll do that. They have no qualm. We've seen now Israel as a genocidal state that is heavily enabled by the United States and Great Britain and other Western powers. They will just completely wipe out an entire society, as they're trying to do in Gaza. They'll starve people, burn them. So they can do a lot of damage, but they seem to be having more difficulty stopping the ability of the Ansarullah in Yemen to launch attacks against Israel. And 3 attacks were launched yesterday. And we have different reports whether they got through or not. Of course, a lot of the times the Israelis say things that are not true or exaggerated, and people do that in war all the time. So this is the difficulty that the Israelis are having. They talk tough, they attack, they have to do a huge distance, to cover a huge distance, 2,000 kilometers to get to Yemen. Therefore, it's limited what they can do. And the Yemenis had years of experience fighting the Saudis and the Emiratis, and they learned a lot from that experience about how to protect themselves.
Rami, these groups from the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, Israel says they're all backed by Iran and supported by Tehran. They've been putting up this continued resistance to Israel, not just since the war on Gaza started, but for many years now. But since that war, we've seen so many developments in the Middle East. It's the war on Gaza that continues, the conflict in Lebanon, and just last month, the fall of the Assad regime in Syria. Has Iran and in turn these groups been weakened politically or militarily by these developments that have happened over the last 15 months?
Certainly they've been weakened, yes. They haven't been destroyed and they haven't been totally nullified, but they've been weakened. And that's why they're keeping a bit of a low profile. Hamas is still attacking Israeli targets in Gaza every day. And this is very well documented by various people, especially in the United States. Hezbollah is being more careful because they took a big hit and they're regrouping and fixing up their intelligence and all kinds of things that they have to do to maintain their ability to be an effective force if they need to fight again, which may or may not happen. The Syrians have no defense capabilities left. The Israelis knocked everything out. And Iran is much more cautious now, though Iran is a very powerful country and is prepared to fight if it has to, but it prefers not to get into an all-out war with the Israelis. But if I can just adjust one of the points you said, they're not only resisting Israel, they're resisting Israel and its Western imperial backers. And this is a resistance that's been going on for almost a century. With the British and the French initially, and now mostly in the last half century, the Americans are the big backers of Israel. And the Americans have been fully involved enthusiastically supporting the Israeli genocide in Gaza. And Biden, just as a parting gift, sent an $8 billion bill to Congress to give aid, military aid to Israel. So this is a resistance axis that is widely supported by popular forces. And you see this in Yemen. Every Friday they have a public demonstration in Sana'a of around almost 1 million people go out. And I've been to Yemen quite a few times in my life as a reporter, and they're very, very passionate, dedicated, sincere supporters of not just the Palestinian cause, but Arab rights. And this resistance battle has to be understood as wider than only attacking Israel. It's against the Western imperial or even hegemonic forces that people are afraid of, because people have been involved in overthrowing regimes, and this is, of course, what happened in Syria. The Hayat Tahrir Sham that took power was heavily supported by the CIA, by the Israelis, by the Saudis, by others. So, and Turkey played a role, and others had, so there's been a lot of concern in the Arab region for a century about foreign interference, and this is one dimension of the backlash against it.
Rami Khouri, thank you so much for your analysis, as always. Good to speak to you.
Thank you.